I've never made a video about my experience on September 11th. This is where I experienced September 11th. I don't think I've ever noticed this before on the side. Wanted to come over to the house and shoot a video in my old bedroom in the craft room. Is that okay? Okay, well, I'm gonna head over there in just a minute. So today is September 11th, 2017. It's been 16 years since the Twin Towers fell in New York City, and I've never made a video about my experience on September 11th, which I would have been in my second year of college, and I was, how old was I? 19 years old. I was 19 years old when it happened, and back then, I can't say that I was very into like the news and politics and understanding world events. And looking back on it now, it's just, I can see how I've grown as a person, you know, looking at that from whenever I was young to where I am now. It's a very interesting dynamic. But first, I need you guys to do something for me. There's a poll right up there. I want you guys to answer that. It's a question. You can probably see the question right up there. It just shot out and shoots back in. You know how those things work. Click it, and I want you to answer that question for me. And then at the end of the video, I want to talk about that. But come on, let's go. Later on today, whenever we go pick up the kids, I'm gonna ask them if they even talk about September 11th in school, because they're only in kindergarten and first grade, and I'm curious to know if like the teachers mention it or if they have any kind of discussion about it or anything, being that they're so young. That'll be an interesting, possibly interesting conversation, so look for that towards the end. This room. This is where I experienced September 11th, 2001. As most of you guys know, this is now my mom's craft room. But at the time, 16 years ago, I was still living in this house. Like I said earlier, my second year of college. My bed was right here, where you guys are. I had some shelving units. There's like wood colored shelving units. These shelving units right here, I still have them. And I had a little 13-inch TV VCR combo sitting on top of one of the shelving units. And I was sleeping in the bed. The bed was against this wall, like where this is here, and it kind of jutted out to about half the table here. I didn't have to get up that early that morning because on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I didn't have a class at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette until 11 a.m. And so earlier that morning, I slept in, and my mom, I can remember yelling up to me, or she may even came into the room, I don't remember. She said, "Lane, you have to turn on the TV. Something crazy is happening," or something to that effect. And so I, you know, kind of in a slumber, you know, whatever. And then I pick up my remote, and I turned on that little 13-inch TV VCR combo, and I put it on the news. And there was just this building that was, you know, on fire, had a big hole in it and whatnot. And I was just kind of processing what had just happened. And like I said earlier, at the time, I wasn't into politics and world events and anything like that. So I didn't really have a grasp on what was going on. I think most of you guys possibly had the same type of reaction that I had. And the reaction was that you were just glued to your television all day long because you couldn't believe what had just happened. That this airplane just flew into a building. And then however much time later, another one flies into the building. And then I think that's whenever like everybody knew something big had happened. So I didn't go to school that day. I think actually the school sent everyone home if they wanted to go home or back to their dorms or whatever. And I literally, I can remember staying in bed pretty much most of the morning that happened. And then eventually I got up and ate and got dressed and all that, and I went down to my girlfriend's house at the time just to have another person to talk to about it. And I can remember walking into her house and her being like very emotionally struck by it. And I did my best to be a good boyfriend and, like, you know, calm her down and relax her and all that type of stuff. So it was just a very weird day. And my day wasn't, you know, special by any sort of means. I wasn't there. I don't think I knew anybody who was there. Definitely didn't know any of the people who had lost their lives that day. But I can just remember thinking, like, because bam, bam, and then the Pentagon, and then the plane in Pennsylvania, it's like, what's next? That's what everybody was wondering, is what's next? And I can remember thinking, is the White House gonna be? And that's what they were thinking that the Pennsylvania one was going to, is the White House gonna be attacked next? What exactly is going on? I remember them shutting down the New York Stock Exchange. I remember them saying that no more planes in the air except for the military. And that was just a really, really strange day. Man, the fact that I can remember it so vividly too, just like I think most of you guys who lived through that experience can remember. I just asked my mom, because I was helping her do something, and I asked my mom, what do you remember from September 11th? She said, oh, it's interesting because I don't remember coming up to you and telling you to turn on your TV, but it's funny that you remember that. What she remembers is she was downstairs getting ready for the morning, and one of her friends called her, and they talked about what was going on, because my mom didn't know, and she turned on the TV, and then she I guess after watching it for a little while came and told me that I needed to actually know, because it was right whenever the first tower hit that she came and told me, like right after it. So she must have just gotten off the phone with her friend and then came up here and told me to turn on the TV. It's a very surreal day. It really was. And it's amazing that I can remember, because if you guys don't know, I've got like a terrible memory. I can't remember what we did this past weekend most of the times, unless it's something very memorable. And the fact that I can remember that day so vividly is just like what I've heard with people who lived through the JFK experience, you know, the assassination of JFK. They say that they can remember it very, very detailed. I think, it's someone in my family, I think it may have been my grandma, maybe my uncles. I don't think it was my mom, but they can remember that they were out in the yard picking strawberries, and then they got the news about the JFK assassination. So it's these very, very vivid moments like this that like stick into your memory, and I find that very interesting. I would love to know down in the comments below, if you were alive during September 11th, what your day was like. Is it something that you remembered? And if you lived through JFK as well, let me know about that day in the comments below as well. I know I have some older audience here. Now, also, for all the younger people who haven't, who didn't experience September 11th firsthand, I would love to know, do they still show footage or anything like that of the towers coming down, or what happened that day in the classroom? Because I don't know, I know it's a very like sensitive thing, but it's like a part of history, and I'd be curious to know if schools are able to show that type of stuff. So let me know down in the comments below if any of you guys are in school, if your school does something like that, or is there something that your school does to remember September 11th? Now, I mentioned earlier in this video that I'd like for you guys to go and do the poll that's right at the top of the video there. And the poll's question is something to the fact of, I haven't typed it in yet, something to the fact of how many buildings fell in that particular area of New York on September 11, 2001. And I believe that a lot of people have a really bad misconception of that, because most people would say, well, they're the Twin Towers. There was two. They're Twin Towers. That's it. There was two buildings that fell. And a lot of people, I don't think, realize that there was a third building that fell that day. World Trade Center Building 7. There's not a lot of knowledge as to why that building fell. And I'd be curious to know from you guys, if one, did you know that, first of all? Did you know that a third building fell that day? And secondly, Do you have any idea, if you did know that it fell, do you have any idea why that building fell? Because I still don't understand that. I've done some research into, 9/11 and whatnot, and I'm just curious to know why that building fell. So if you know, let me know down in the comments below. Here, I'll put in a little clip of what the building looked like before it fell. So this is a map of the area, World Trade Center, and then this is number 7 right here. And this is it falling. Okay, now I'm curious to know one more thing, but we gotta go. So in downtown Lafayette, there's this monument right here to 9/11. Looks like a couple people put a couple of flowers around there. I'm curious to know, in your area, in your city, is there a monument like this? Did cities around the country get some kind of statue, monument type of thing to put in a park like we have here? If you know of one in your area, you can even look it up on Google. Can you tweet it to me or send it to me on Instagram? Because I'd be curious to know how many things like these there are around the United States. But this is a nice memorandum for the people who have lost their lives during 9/11, and my heart goes out to the families of those who were affected by that. That is just something that I cannot fathom, losing a loved one due to a tragic event like 9/11. There's also this, which I just noticed here for the first time. I don't think I've ever noticed this before. On the side, there's a limestone panel. It says it was acquired from the Pentagon in Washington as a section of the northwest exterior wall struck by the aircraft on September 11th. And it was donated by the American Legion Post 69 and dedicated by our government here in 2002. And I gotta say, for 15 years, I've come to this park many, many times, and I've never noticed that before. All right, guys, we are picking up the kids. Let's go see. Let's go see if they talk to. Let's see if they talked about 9/11. Hey, bud. Hey. Hey, Pumpkin. Did y'all have a great day at school today? Yep. Okay, we're first in line, so let's get buckled up quick, okay? Hey, did you guys talk about 9/11 today? Did the teacher mention anything about that?
No, we were going up to 10.
You were only going up to 10? Oh, okay. What about you, Amelia? Did your teacher talk about 9/11?
Wait, what?
Did she talk about 9/11?
9/11?
Yeah, or what this day means to America?
No.
No, she didn't talk about airplanes or buildings in New York City? No. Okay.